Okay. Plenty of things went on this week. Let's start talking about, first of all, what's happening in the real economy. I mean, you must have heard about the news about the inflation. In the UK on Wednesday was announced that, as you can see here, the consumer price in CPI figure, which, by the way, now is quoted as inflation figure, but the RPI, which is a different measure of inflation, is even higher than that at the moment. So the official figure is 9.4% inflation. Okay. And this, as I say, they kind of like manipulate these figures as much as they can. Okay, so the real figures, for people in the real world are actually quite a bit higher than that. But still, we're talking about the highest inflation for the past 40 years. Okay, now what does that mean? It means that this is then with similar figures, obviously, not just in the UK but also in Europe and in the US. And we've had the announcement yesterday. The European Central Bank raises the interest rates for the first time in 11 years. Okay, so we've had a 50 basis point to 0.5% increase in the base rate for the ECB. There are talks that a similar increase is going to be recommended in the UK when the Monetary Policy Committee meets, I think, beginning of August. So everybody is seeing really the cost of borrowing growing. Okay, so that's on one side, because people, they have got mortgages, they are connected, they haven't fixed their rate, but they got a flexible rate that moves with the the base rate. The cost of their loans will go up considerably. But also, what it also means, it means that this is higher interest payments from the point of view of the central bank. For both the ECB and the UK central bank, they got a large amount of bonds that finance the public debt, and many of these bonds are inflation linked. Okay, so as the inflation goes up, the repayment of these bonds goes up as well. So I just wanted to make it to kind of like in a way, just translate it for you. So what that means is that on a kind of individual level, it means people costs go up. Apart from inflation, this is just a kind of looking backwards measure, because thinking the prices have already gone up, and this is what the inflation measurements mean. Going forward, the increase of the borrowing cost, it means that we're going to have less money to spend, because we're going to spend more money to pay interest on the debts that we have. In particular, for many people, the biggest debt they have is the mortgage to finance the purchase of their home. Okay, so less money to spend, it means problems for the economy, because people are spending less money in the shops, and as a result, then companies will post lower earnings, and as a result, stock market goes down. As a result, your pension is worth less. So it's kind of like a vicious circle that we are entering. And unfortunately, what the problem at the moment is that inflation is due to two things, at the moment. One is, the big money printing that we've seen in the past few years, especially during the pandemic, and two is, problems that are connected, one, to the war in Ukraine, and that has caused, obviously, an increase in the price of a lot of food ingredients, including, in particular, grain and other vegetable oil and other things that are used across the world, and for which Russia and Ukraine are some of the biggest producers in the world. And two is the cost of oil. that influence is not just oil, in the sense that is the petrol that we put in our car, but oil is used in a lot of the production of many goods. So the fact that there is a high cost of oil, then it reflects into higher cost prices for a lot of industrial producers, and that eventually then trickles down when the industrial items become consumer items and they come to the stores. We pay more for all these things. So anything that is made of plastic, for example, as oil during the production line. So the costs of everything is going up in terms of production, and the only weapon generally that governments and central banks have to control this is generally interest rates. So the central banks raise interest rates in a way to control inflation. But in this particular case, it potentially will have little effect, because the inflationary pressures are not from excessive spending, but they are from structural situations that they can't just control with reducing the amount of money that people have available. And the other immediate effect of this is that it will probably push the countries they are going after this particular strategy into a new recession, and at a time where the global economy is very weak, because it's coming after a pandemic that, apart from anything else that the pandemic has caused, it has caused absolute mayhem from the point of view of the supply chains, in the sense that many supply chains are fed by containers moving across the world, and some of the container ships that go from one side to the other of the world are ended up being in the wrong places. Containers are in the wrong places. So it takes a long time for the whole supply chain to get back to, I would say, a good working situation, a good working order. So these are all kind of like little pieces of the puzzles that put together paint a kind of like quite a bleak picture for the next few months. Okay, and obviously this is a crypto hour, so we will be talking about crypto, but we need to frame it into what's happening generally, because at the end of the day, cryptocurrency is one asset class that fits into other investing into other asset classes. So we need to understand what the relationship is between the general market activity and cryptocurrency. Now, as I said before, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about this, but cryptocurrency as an asset class in 2021 has grown into becoming an institutional investable asset. Okay, and as such has changed a little bit in its in the way it operates. So, as many other asset classes, is considered a risk-on asset class, which means that it's something that grows very strongly when people are happy to take risks, and that generally is in a growing economy. Okay, so when the economy is growing, then we will see the technology stocks and cryptos going very, very strongly. But also, especially if you look at the Nasdaq and if you look at other exchanges where technology stocks are listed and traded, when the market goes down, the technology stocks goes down very, very heavily. And this is what's happened in the second half of 2021 and this first half of 2022. So in a way, the institutions that have arrived into the crypto market have changed and made it become a little bit like a technology asset from the point of view of the big boy investing. Let's put it that way. Another big news of this week that to be obviously taken seriously because of the effect and the following that this man has. And Tesla and this is Elon Musk, obviously, if you don't know what it looks like, and the owner of Tesla and other companies as well. And Tesla was one of the first companies to invest the company money into Bitcoin last year. Now, apparently, obviously, they need to report regularly, movements in the balance sheet. And now they've reported that they have sold 75% of their Bitcoin during the second quarter. And that could, and this is, their investment was 1.5 billion. So it's a significant amount of Bitcoin that has been sold onto the market. So we are talking about 2% of the market cap of Bitcoin that was sold. So this is probably one of the reasons also that has kept the price of Bitcoin quite down in the past few weeks and months, because logically thinking, you're thinking, well, if the inflation is going up so much, and there is so much money in circulation, you compare it to crypto where the supply, at least for the coins that have got a limited supply like Bitcoin, where the supply is fixed, the price should go up significantly, but it actually hasn't. Okay, because again, it's a market where the supply is fixed, so it can't adapt to market fluctuations. Okay, so when normally what happens in a normal commodity, for example, if prices go up, there are more producers that come on board, and then the supply goes up and they absorb the excess demand. And the same way, and then the price goes down, some producers come out of the market to reduce the supply. This doesn't happen with Bitcoin. The supply is fixed. So an increase in demand or a decrease in demand has a big effect on price. And this is what we see, the high volatility. Okay, so the high volatility is a characteristics of the early days of a new technology, and in this case, a new payment technology. And as it becomes bigger and larger and it gets adopted more and more, then these fluctuations will become smaller and smaller until, if it gets to the point of being accepted as a main currency, will have a similar fluctuation to the ones that we see in the currency markets and less. Okay, other big news this time, more crypto related. Let's start talking about Ethereum. Okay, so Vitalik Buterin says that once this upgrade is completed, so once they move from proof of work to proof of stake, that is tentatively indicated that's going to happen on September the 19th. He was saying that Ethereum will be about 55% complete. It is considered to be at the moment to be about 40% complete. So there will be quite a lot of innovation that are going to be introduced with this upgrade. So there is a lot of interest in this, and not just for the Ethereum, but obviously being the largest at the moment smart contract platform, it is going to influence the whole of the crypto market. So just bear in mind, now we are towards the end of July, so we're only about less than 2 months away from this date, which can and probably will be pushed back, as it normally happens with Ethereum. But it is a very significant line in the sand that we should cross, if not in September, a little bit later, but at least in the near future. And this is what it looks. Where is the chart? Okay, so this is just to make you realize, the kind of work that it's needed in a blockchain. And I don't worry too much if you think that it looks complicated. Is because it is. Okay, so don't worry too much about well, gosh, I don't understand all this stuff. So this is where we are right now. So we're talking about this thing called the merge. So this is the activity. What this chart doesn't show is all the work that's taken us to this point. But what it shows is that this is not going to be the end of it. It's just going to be one step into development of a large blockchain like Ethereum. So after the merge, we're going to be talking about the surge and the verge and the purge and the splurge. Okay, so I've got all these, you know, they like the assonance, you know. And each one of these stages, there will be different characteristics that are enabled on the system. So when you look at, you know, cryptocurrency investing, you know, this is why the reason why I show you this is because I just want to show you this is not a kind of like a 2 weeks or 3 weeks or monthly. Whenever you invest in a new coin, it's not that everything is going to happen now. There is a process and there's a lot of work behind the scenes that needs to happen for these projects to do well and to be adopted. Okay, so this is the simple reason why I wanted to show you this. So let me, as we're going along, let me just close a few tabs. Okay, and talking about the Ethereum ecosystem and developing ecosystem, there's an interesting event in September. Sorry, where is that? Which is a Smart Con called 2022. That is put together by Chainlink. You know, although yeah, this is going on in New York. I mean, don't look at this price. This is the price if you attend live, that you can get a free pass to watch the event virtually. But you know, it is interesting because Chainlink is basically the data provider for a lot of the smart contract blockchains. So it started as just working with Ethereum, but now is providing its services to a lot of different blockchains as well. So their activity is interesting because it's not kind of like a bias towards one particular ecosystem only, but they are positioning themselves almost like a, you know, I always consider people that are considering investing in cryptocurrency. Chainlink is almost like investing in an ETF in cryptocurrency, because if the market goes up, any smart contract provider will need their services. Obviously, there are other oracles like like service data providers in cryptocurrency, but Chainlink is by far the largest one. Okay, so if you're interested in, let me just post this link. It's like a 2 days event, but you can get a free ticket, and it's going to be on the 28th and 29th of September. So I will post the link here. Okay, so that's the one thing. Let me close these as well. So I just registered for it as well. Now, from here, we want to normally leave it until the end, but today is going to be, because I talked about this with Ethereum, I want to also talk about what's going on, and I'll show you kind of the amount of work that's going on in Ethereum. This is an example of what is going on in Cardano itself, you know, and this is a chart to show you all the research that has underpinned development in Cardano. Okay, so starting all the way down from 2017, and these numbers here are the numbers of research papers that have been published and peer-reviewed by other scientists. Okay, so you know the blue are kind of the internal papers, but these are all the red ones are all public papers that have been published. And by the way, they are usable by anybody, not just by Cardano. All this research is open source and being able to be accessed by any other project. And many other projects have used part of this research to, on their blockchain. At the moment, as far they've got 139 research papers so far that have been published underpinning the Cardano blockchain. Okay, and we go into the point of, from there is a lot of talk about, for example, zero knowledge rollups, kind of like scaling solutions on Ethereum, but the same thing is going on in Cardano as well. And this is what's being developed, especially now in 2022. And another thing that's really interesting is, I don't know if any of you have heard of threshold signatures, but this could be the next level of multi-signature wallets, because now as a protection of especially many blockchains that are holding funds, at a protocol level. At the moment, they're protected as a multi-signature wallet. It means that they need more people to sign transactions in and out of these funds. Now, this multi-signature can be vulnerable themselves, because if people hack into, if you need maybe 3 or 4 signatures, let's say, people, all 4 people get hacked, then these things are at risk. What threshold signatures do instead, do all the number of signatures required happen off-chain, so nobody can see it. And once all the signatures have been collected, then only then the transaction is sent to the chain. So even if one of the people that are part of the threshold signature arrangement get hacked, that kind of information will not be of any use to the hacker, because the hacker will not know who else needs to provide a signature for that transaction to go through. Where what is the system that is used now, everybody can see the addresses, all the multi-signatories they are necessary. Okay, so there's a big change, and this will be a huge increase in securities, in security of wallets. So Cardano is introducing, and this is something that's available now, by the way, but you need to spend a lot of money to actually access this kind of technology right now. Okay, only available to really institutional users, and this is going to make it available to everybody. Okay, so big difference and big improvement in technology. Also, another interesting thing to know about, you may have heard about Cardano that is launching its stablecoin called DJED. This is being developed, by the way, not by Cardano itself, but by Coti. Okay, Coti is a different project, it has its own blockchain, but it does a lot of work in the Cardano community, and they have basically developed the DJED stablecoins, and which is just about to be launched. So this is something that I would, if you're interested, if you're a little bit technically minded, have a good read. Have a good read of this. I mean, it's going to be probably about a 10-minute read, so I'm not going to cover it all here, but just wanted to tell you that with the Vaso hard fork, which is just about to happen on Cardano, there's a lot of these innovations are going to be introduced as well. And so you can see the development of that DJED and its availability on the mainnet is going to come after the Vaso hard fork release again, which is due in the next few weeks. And then also on top of this, to say, as I say, I talk to you about crypto, and to look at not so much at news and hype, but look at data. And this is, I wanted to show you this, which is, you said, what are you looking at? There's a lot of data here, a lot of numbers. What we're looking at is development activity over the last 30 days. Okay, so these are like GitHub's commitments during the last 30 days, and we can see that Cardano is at the #1 spot, quite a distance. But it's interesting to see what comes after. I mean, I've told you about this. Cardano has been, spot 1 or 2 for months and months and months. So this is the real activity that developers are doing on the blockchain, and it's not like some marketing hype somebody can tell you. But it's interesting to see who's behind it, who's after Cardano. So there's a lot of activity going on in the Flow blockchain. And Flow is something as blockchain that concentrates on kind of gaming and NFT. So there's a very focused, it's a layer one blockchain, but the focus is on the NFT. And then, Polkadot and Kusama. Polkadot and Kusama are the same thing, basically. So Kusama is kind of the test network for Polkadot. Okay, so it's interesting to see which are the networks that are being worked on. So we got Cardano, Flow, Polkadot, Ethereum, and IOTA. Those are the big ones. Those are the big projects, and then we got Internet Computer and Cosmos. So I will stop there. I'll just stop at the top 10 basically. Cosmos, and then we got the central one, which is one of the metaverses. But it's interesting to see, because if we were to look at hype, then we would think that Solana will be at the number 1 or number 2, but it's nowhere near that. Nowhere near that. So it's down to number 17. So this is real work that's going on. So this column here, developer activity, and it makes you realize who's actually progressing on their project. Whatever the price does, this is not connected to price. Okay, so it doesn't mean that the higher number of developer activity means a higher price in the market. Absolutely not. It just says that there is, if there's developers activity, it means that there are people that are paying these developers to do things. That means that there are companies behind it. They are releasing projects on these blockchains. Okay, so that's why the developers are doing this work. They don't, some may do it for the love of the project, but obviously we all need to make a living. And the reason why they are there is because they can make some money by doing it. Okay. All right. So let's close this as well. And these are the other things I wanted to show you. Was some, and I only talk for another 5 minutes, and then we take some questions. This is some real use of blockchain technology. So the thing that's coming out now in 2021, 2022 is blockchain has actually grown, has become a technology that is starting to be used in the real world to do things. And here there's an article that talks about why blockchain is important in the healthcare sector. So we're thinking, for example, IBM. So we're not talking about small companies. IBM is working on different things. They worked, for example, on a COVID-19 vaccination passport, but also they are working on different solutions to validate healthcare providers and so on, and to share information with service provider. I mean, the healthcare has been one of the most hacked databases that there have been, and there've been kind of your data, my data is there and is being hacked all the time, and there's nothing we can do about it at the moment. Okay, because in the UK, for example, our healthcare data is owned by the NHS. Okay, so they store it somewhere, and if that storage place is not safe, then our data is not safe. Okay, now most of the time you're thinking, well, what will somebody do with my, medical data? But if you get your identity being stolen is definitely not fun. Okay, and these are all bits of data that hackers can use to then access other things as well. Other bit of articles, interesting. This is talking about there's been, even with the crash in the crypto market, there's been an increase of workers being paid directly in crypto. And it's especially true in economies that are highly volatile. Okay, so people that feel are very uncomfortable holding the local currency, and increasingly there are companies that, especially in in Latin America, Middle East, and Africa, in many regions, we'll see an increase of payments in cryptocurrency. So again, this is another case of real life adoption. The last couple of things, there's a couple of Algorand news. For those of you that have heard me talk about Algorand, Algorand is another blockchain that's got very scientific approach to it, similar to Cardano's approach to the work in the blockchain industry. And now all this is starting to come to fruition. Algorand comes out of the MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, probably the most famous technology university in the world. So they have got very, very good credibility at institutional level as well. They have announced, this is from yesterday, no, sorry, the end of June. They announced they're working now with Napster to launch an ecosystem, music ecosystem on Algorand. Okay, so both Cardano and Algorand had been accused of doing things slowly, but you see how doing the groundwork first allows you then to have the platform to then build on and then attract users. And this is something that would bring a lot of new users to the Algorand blockchain. And this is not much to talk about, it's something to share with you. So if you are interested, this is Silvio Micali, which is a fellow Italian and professor at MIT. This is interesting, for you to listen to in your own time. We're not going to do it now, but it's half an hour of an interview at the MIT Bitcoin Expo in May. So let me post that as well in the chat box. It's not too long; it's 27 minutes, so you can put it while you do something else, and you can listen to it. It's perfectly okay to listen to these things while you're doing other things. And the last thing I want to share with you is Polygon. Polygon has launched a kind of like a year ahead of schedule, Ethereum scaling with zero knowledge Ethereum virtual machine. This is what these symbols means. Okay, so that will what it does mean to you generally is much faster transactions, much lower costs. Okay, because the way that zero knowledge rollups work is that they bunch a number of transactions together and then they publish them on the blockchain. Okay, so in a way, the more transactions you bunch together, the lower the cost. Because let's imagine that a transaction on Ethereum, for example, costs $10. Okay, so if you make one transaction, it will cost you $10 transaction fee. If you bunch 100 transactions together, then it is going to cost, instead of costing you $10, it's costing you then 10 cents. If you bunch 1,000 transactions together, then it's going to cost you 1 cent. So the more transactions you put together and record on the blockchain as a batch, the lower the cost per transaction. Okay, so you can see the potential of this transaction to scale, to make transaction a lot faster, because they're not written on the blockchain as often. And the solution that is favored as the safest. There are several scaling solutions. The zero knowledge one is considered the one that is most promising, and this is the one the Polygon is launching. Okay, so the one thing I said to many of you that are in kind of private coaching, that the Matic, Polygon in particular, have really invested a lot and invested a lot in not just in this, but so they're not just betting one solution. They've invested in a large number of different solutions, so that whatever will come to fruition first, they could then deploy. And their idea is that they are going to deploy different EVMs with different scaling solutions working together, because different solutions are are more right for different users. Let's put it this way. So it's kind of like the amount of development in the Polygon in the Polygon ecosystem has been phenomenal, and they're getting to the point now. Almost, Polygon has always been seen as a Ethereum scaling solution, so to make Ethereum transactions cheaper. It's almost getting to the point now where it's becoming, from a layer 2, is becoming almost a layer 1, and there are many projects that don't even bother releasing their dApp on Ethereum. They go on Polygon directly. It's a very interesting ecosystem to follow, and it is one of those coins that should be part of a well-balanced cryptocurrency portfolio. Okay, so let me stop chatting now. Stop talking. Going on for about 40 minutes. So we've got 20 minutes to take some questions. Okay, who wants to go first? Come on, don't talk all at once. Okay. Jeff, you just appeared. Have you got a question for us? Or was just like you? I can't hear you because you've.
Sorry. Well, glad to hear you sound like you've fully recovered as well.
I am. Yes. Feel much better. Thank you.
I didn't have a specific question. Can you just explain what the EVM is with the Polygon Matic part? That I understand the zero knowledge, but the EVM?
EVM is an Ethereum virtual machine. So this is what is the engine behind Ethereum. Okay, so Ethereum virtual machine now it's not just run on Ethereum, but it's also the base of many different blockchains. They are based on that technology. So if you look at Avalanche, you look at Polygon, Phantom, there's many different blockchains that are based on the EVM technology. And so that's kind of like part of the Ethereum ecosystem. And then there are other technologies. So Bitcoin is a different technology, Cardano is a different technology, Polkadot is a different technology. Okay. But some of those also allow, like for example, Cardano just launched a couple of months ago a Ethereum virtual machine compatible sidechain, so that now Ethereum projects can also launch on Cardano with very little adaptation, and at the same time using the code they already have developed on Ethereum, but benefiting for the extra security on Cardano too. So,
okay, and I assume that there has to be a massive amount of testing to check the compatibility does work properly in lots of different conditions, scenarios, and hacking and.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot. And if you see how many years it has taken for Ethereum to change a consensus protocol, just that one thing. And Ethereum virtual machine is obviously always tested and upgraded as much as they can. This is what kind of the roadmap I was showing you before. Yeah. The innovations they introduce in the network. So there's nothing. I mean, the one thing you can say about blockchain in general is that it never stands still. So It is a really fast-growing technology. Although you don't see it as a user, but behind the scenes, and maybe we can bring in Jonathan here. I can, as both a Cardano expert, but also as a IT business owner, can maybe clarify this better than I can.
Hi everyone. So the Ethereum virtual machine is I'm trying to think of something equivalent that you'd use on your own computer. It's kind of like using a a service that you send calls into and get a response back, but you don't have to bother with the internals of that virtual machine too much. So long as the underlying protocol has got everything connected to that virtual machine in a way that's robust, then you who makes use of that Ethereum virtual machine don't have to be thinking too hard about it. You're just interacting with the blockchain like you would any other. But in reality, it's got a massive boost because it's interoperable then with the whole Ethereum ecosystem. So if you're building on another chain, it gives you access to all these other apps, all these other exchanges and third-party services like oracles that you wouldn't have had. You don't have to build them on your own chain. You can just make use of the ones that are already existing out there. So it's a really big boost. There's a paper, because IOG, which is the company who built Cardano, they created the architecture for an Ethereum virtual machine within the Cardano ecosystem, but they didn't build a sidechain themselves that made use of it. So the first one that was on Cardano was by a team called DC Spark. They built out Milkomeda, and that's done very well. And now IOG, and so there's a DEX that use it. Wing Riders use that Ethereum virtual machine to interact with, to make Cardano and Ethereum tokens can exchange between those chains now. And IOG now are releasing their own sidechain. They announced it this week, a couple of weeks ago. So there'll be a new sidechain that will be an IOG Ethereum virtual machine, and we already have one that's a DC Spark Ethereum virtual machine. So there's a whole load of functionality that they'll build on top of what's offered by the core Ethereum virtual machine, but ultimately shows you it's like a black box of tech that you can just plug into your chain and start using. I'll drop an article link to the IOG one. It's very good. It's very cool. So interoperability is one of the big goals of Cardano, is that they don't want to be an island. They want to make sure that they can work with existing ecosystems. So it's a really good approach.
Definitely, and it's kind of, this is something I talk about quite often. And I think, when you're looking at projects, that you're considering, looking at their partnerships and how much they cooperate with other projects, because no project is an island. And if you are in an environment when they keep saying that theirs is the only solution available for something, then you should start getting worried, because like it's like somebody else saying, well, you don't need, we can offer everything that's available on the internet. You think, well, you're crazy. So it's the same thing here. If somebody say that all you need from blockchain is their chain, then I think they are deluded, or the rest of the world is wrong. So
thank you.
No problem. Okay. Any Cornelia?
Yeah, Luca.
Yeah.
If we want to move some USDC in Kraken on the ERC20 to stay as USDC, but on MetaMask on Arbitrum, how would we do that?
Arbitrum is its own blockchain. So I haven't actually used Arbitrum myself. So, but generally you just make a transfer from Ethereum to Arbitrum. So it just like you have another on MetaMask, you have a different you set up a different blockchain, which is you set up Arbitrum, and then you basically you will bridge the USDC over from Ethereum to Arbitrum.
And what bridge would you recommend?
I don't know. So I haven't used Arbitrum itself. So I don't know if anybody. Jonathan, do you know? I'm not sure. But if you go onto the Arbitrum website, definitely they will have a guide that will tell you how to bridge over
Okay,
funds.
Right. Thanks.
No problem. Cornelia was asking how to rebalance now prices are so much lower. How to determine reallocation percentage, general rules principle. Okay. It depends. It depends very much. I say if you are starting investing now, or if you already have a portfolio, and you are thinking of rebalancing the portfolio. If you rebalancing your existing portfolio, then generally the way I would do it, would look at the relative look at the relative charts. So you know, because of how you built your portfolio, what you want to have in the long term, but you can use short-term opportunities. Okay, so for example, relative prices into different tokens can be stretched as much as their price against a dollar. So as I said, for example, a couple of months ago, I saw an opportunity of selling Ethereum for Cardano, and later on, a month later, I did the opposite. I got my Ethereum back plus about 50%, because the price of Cardano relative to Ethereum grew by about 50%. Now it's come down again, but I had that target of 50%. So when I got to that level, I kind of I got out of that particular allocation. You can do the same. Just have a look, especially start with your bigger holdings, and have a look at the relative chart. So you can do it on especially on central exchanges. They have a large number of listings, something like Binance or like Gate.io, for example. And because it's not just the listing that you want to see against USDC, but you want to see relative listing. So for example, you're looking at Cardano, you want to look at the chart of Cardano against Ethereum, the Cardano against Bitcoin, Cardano against Polkadot. So of all the coins that you hold. So if you hold both, you're thinking, is it the best thing to hold them both just as I have them, or can I just move them from one to another temporarily and then move them back later? If you are building instead a portfolio now, completely fresh, then then you can use the same percentages that you would have used at the beginning in choosing your coins to invest in. I personally am not a fan of rebalancing a portfolio. Just in general, if you say, let's say the maximum coin, let me say I want to have more than, let's say, 20% of my crypto portfolio in any one coin. Now, what happens if one coin grows, let's say, 50 times, and then it ends up, representing a 40-50% of your portfolio? So if you want to sell it because your goal was to sell that coin at a particular profit point, this is fine. But I'm not a fan of just rebalancing simply because that's now too big a part of my portfolio. Because sometimes for me that equates to selling your winners to buy your losers. And so I just follow a target per coin that's based on the analysis. But I don't tend to rebalance for the sake of keeping to specific percentage of coins, if that makes sense, Cornelia.
Yeah, it does. Thank you very much for the general principles. But what I tried to ask is, like now we see Matic doing very interesting things, and sort of I interpret that as the relative value of Matic in the whole list of getting bigger, that they are sort of advancing more per week, per month, in what they are inherently doing than some other coins. So then I would think of maybe buying some extra Matic on top of everything I have. And my question was actually, how would you do that?
Okay.
Because
yeah.
if I hear you now, you're telling me if you want to invest something more, then just spread it along the same lines as before. Whereas sort of as I listen to, yeah.
I understand exactly what you're asking, Cornelia. I mean, the thing is, you know, I've been talking about Matic for the past year or so. So the time for investing in Matic is not now. It would have been a couple of months ago. And so on, because Matic this week, they announced a partnership with, last week, they announced a partnership with Disney, and this is what caused the token price to double. Okay, so if you buy now, you're buying at the top of a spike. So it's not something. Yes, it's something that you want to invest in. Then you know, keep an have a look on, you know, on their price, but wait for the hype to go down a little bit. Okay, because otherwise you're buying FOMO.
Yeah,
so this is what I wanted to say. So this is why this is why every week I'm talking about looking at the data, looking at fundamental things, because the decisions to buy, to get into some coins, you know, are really decisions that need to be made when it's boring, when the market is boring. When the market becomes exciting, you miss that chance pretty much. Okay, and then you FOMO in. It can still work, because if the market starts suddenly going up and Matic goes back from where it is now, 90, whatever it's, I'm not sure what it is today, 90 cents, $1, to what it was a few months ago, it was $3, still a very good profit. But it definitely is not the best time to, you know, to buy right now. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much.
Having said that, Cornelia, there are many of the other projects that are a prime buying opportunity right now. Okay, so you know the ones we're talking about, and so look at the boring ones. Okay, those are often the best opportunities.
Thank you so much.
Joe, can you please share the website that showed all the projects and the work activity that is current for the last 3 months? Are you talking about the sentiment? So the one that we're talking about, the developer activity? Joe, is that what you're talking about? Because I've shown I had lots of things open. Yes, okay. So that's basically sentiment. I can't remember if it's sentiment.com probably. So with an A rather than with an E. Okay, and you need to use the filter. On the right hand side, they have a filter, and they got to select developers activity the last 30 days, and it show you that number. Okay. Okay. We got any other questions? We got a few more minutes. And by the way, Jonathan, as usual, please, I encourage everybody to go and follow Jonathan at 9:30 in his Discord video live event, I would say. So Jonathan, please keep posting the link in the chat. So if anybody hasn't gone to Jonathan's 9:30 event yet, today is the right day to do it. Okay. Also, the weather in the UK has become a little bit better, a little bit more bearable. So you have no excuses. Cardano Q&A. Okay, so this the link is now on the chat box. Okay. Okay. Any last minute questions? Okay, so all right. Anybody wanted a question answered before we finish? Sorry, I'll just. Okay, so if everybody is happy with the no more questions are needed, so today we'll finish a couple of minutes earlier than usual. It's going to be a first, finishing before 9 o'clock. But Excuse me. Mostly okay, but still some gremlins. Still some gremlins that I'm working through. So Jeff, I hope that you're getting better too, Jeff. Yeah.
I am, but I'm still coughing more than you are.
Okay. Yeah. No,
yes, nearly there.
Fantastic. All right, guys. So everybody have a great weekend, and I'll catch up with you. For those of you that are on my calls on Monday, I'll catch up with you on Monday, or otherwise next Friday. If any of you that is not part of the AIW or part of my coaching group is interested in knowing more, then send me a message. Send me a message by email here. Let me just everyone meeting. You can message me here, or you can message me on Genius U as well. Okay, so I will catch up with you next week, and again, have a great weekend and enjoy the nice weather, at least in this side of the world. Okay.
Thanks, Luca.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, Luca.